Hey, this is Issara with UX in Motion, and I'm going to show you how to add a stroke to your Jelly UI animation in After Effects. Before we work on this project, just want to set you up for success. So the reason I'm sharing this technique is because I'm working on a really big project for a client right now that I can't discuss the client's name or the project, but trust me, you've heard of the client, and we're working on a micro interaction, and I came up with this technique that we're playing around with, and I realized nobody really shared a tutorial on how to do this, so I just wanted to create it for you. It's going to be really quick. So let's just look here at the screen, and this is what we're going to be building right now. And you can see it has this nice kind of organic material here, and then we have this stroke. And the setup for this is a little bit different than you typically set up one of these animations. So let's just jump in and make it happen. So I'm going to make a new project here. I'm just started After Effects. It's blank. I'm going to make 800 by 600 at 60 frames a second with a white background. And obviously you can do whatever you want. You don't have to use those settings. And I'm just going to draw out a couple shapes with the shape tool. And typically you would be bringing in your own assets. So you could do that. But this is more about the technique than the assets themselves. So if I hit Y on the keyboard, I can get the anchor point tool and I can just move that to the center. Make sure your snapping is turned on. And now I'm hitting V on the keyboard to return back to my tool. And if you go to your Align panel here, you can just hit the middle button here and it just aligns to the canvas. Okay, now this is the first shape layer. Let's make it a little bit bigger for us. I'm just holding down Option and Shift to scale from the center. And you know what? Let's do it like that. Sorry. And now Command D duplicates the layer. I'm just going to drag it up, and then Shift Option from the center scales it in place so that it's about like that. Okay. So that's it. Now we're going to add let's just animate this real quick so you can see it actually happening. So Option P to set my first position property, and I'll just go over maybe 60 frames for now. I'm just blocking in this motion here. It's not going to be super precise. And we're going to start it down here, so we can see now that it just moves up like this. Really, really simple. And I'm going to add a little bit of motion to it, some fun motion from easings.net. So I like to use like developer curves inside of After Effects, and you can watch my tutorial on that. I'll link to that down below. But for now, I'm using the Ease and Wiz plugin, and I'm going to do an elastic effect here, and I'm going to show you something about elastic with a single axis movement here. So when I play this back, I'm just hitting N on the keyboard to close my work area. I'm hitting 0 here now to play it back, and I hit Expo when I set elastic. Do elastic, do that. Okay, so now we have some movement here, but you'll notice that it sort of curves around, right? It does this like funky thing. The elastic effect actually is applied by default to an XY. So even though there's just a vertical movement there, it's actually kind of doing this like shimmy. So to correct that, to just have it be a clean movement here, you can right click your position property and go separate dimensions. Now you have your X and Y, and the expression went away. You can uncheck the X keyframes, you don't need them. And now select the position property again. Now reapply it, and now when we preview it, it just does it on the Y axis, on the vertical Y axis, and it's nice and clean. Okay, so let's make our little jelly effect now. So I'll just move the playback head to the middle here so we can actually see it take shape. And I'm going to right click in my layers palette and go New Adjustment Layer. Put that at the top. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a blur effect. So in my Effects and Presets panel, and if you don't see it, go to Window, Effects and Presets. Just type in blur. And I like to use a fast blur, and After Effects actually moved the fast blur to the obsolete folder, but it's still there, and you can totally use any blur you want. You don't have to use the fast blur. I just kind of like it. It's been a workhorse for me, and I don't know, it's kind of cool. And it's simple. You just type in your pixels and you're done. Okay, so now we have this blur here. we're going to go back to the effects and presets, and I'm going to type in choker. There's two kinds of choker. There's a matte and a simple choker. They'll both work for you. But I like the matte choker a little bit more. You get a more granular control. So with the geometric softness, I'm going to crank that down to 0. With the choke, I'm going to crank that down to 0. And in the gray level softness here, I'm going to go like 2. Basically, the reason here is if you set it to 0, it gives you this kind of funky edge. And when we stroke that in a second, it's going to look kind of weird. So I'm going to set that to 2. Sorry, that was the wrong one. 2% here, and it just kind of softens this edge a little bit. You might even want to go 3, and you can see as you go up, it softens this edge here. So 2 or 3 works good. We'll do 3 for right now. Okay, so now if we play this back, we can see that we have the jelly effect just like we want. So to stroke it, what we're going to do is we're actually going to make a pre-comp now. So I'm going to go back to my composition here, and we're going to drag the comp to the new comp icon down here, and what that's going to do is it's just pre-comps for us. So now we have a new composition with the pre-comp here, and I'm going to move my playback head over here and hit N for end so we can preview this. Now what I'm going to do is I can add a stroke. So all I have to do is right click my comp and go to Layer Styles, Stroke, and now we've added a stroke. Now because it's white, we can see that well, because everything's red, it's the same thing. So I'm just going to change this color to be like a green or something like that, and maybe something like that. And now if I go back to my comp here, I can actually select both of these layers, and I can just make them. I can just change the fill to white. Now you can't see it, but they're still there. They're just matching the background color. And if you hit the transparency icon here, you can actually see the shapes. Now if we go back to the comp 2, we can see that this is now. We've stroked this out. And there you go. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. It was really quick and fun. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, whether or not you're going to use this. I know it's not every day that you need to use a jelly effect, but it's nice to have in your back pocket, especially when you're doing concepting work for projects, just to show your team or your client and just get the conversation going. So anyway, thanks for watching. Please subscribe so you can get more of my tutorials on UI animation in After Effects, and maybe I'll see you in the next video.